Hey everybody, hope we're doing well. Welcome back to an episode of CSGO News. As always, hope you guys all enjoyed. Time markers are down below. I'm gonna go get dressed while you guys watch the intro. And before we get into our first big story for all of you, I want you to know my Twitter is down below. I'm giving away 2 big skins today on my Twitter. At least one of them will be an Aquamarine, maybe a Hyper Beast as well. Check that out down below. There will be a giveaway for all of you. Reply to those tweets with I watched the video for you guys to have a special entry into the giveaway, and that will be down below for all of you. But our first big story today is Dignitas has announced their new male CSGO roster. Now, people thinking it was going to be a North American roster as they announced a North American female roster about a month ago. We had Thorn, very few analysts out there say this might not be true, and he was actually right as they did not announce a North American roster. It will be a European roster instead, featuring Mike Lilly and company. Now, we've hyped this up for a long time on my channel. We didn't know when it was going to come and actually who it was going to be. At first, we thought it was going to be Soar Gaming. Now, allegedly, that fell through several weeks ago, and Dignitas has signed Mike Lilly, J. Keem, Fox, Rubino, and PETA, who will be their 5th member. Now, really quick for all of you, their roles will be as follows. Mike Lilly sticking to that primary op. We'll have Fox, who will be their secondary opper as well as a rifler. J. Keem, or I guess J. Kem, everyone gets mad at me for how I pronounce J. Keem. I'm going to keep saying that way. He's going to be a primary rifler as well. We'll also have former CLG coach, former NIP coach, and also Quirty teammate of Mike Lilly. That'll be PETA returning this lineup. He will be an IGL and the IGL for the team, and that's going to be a very important role as he's actually played in the past with several of these players, and these guys do get along very well, having that core phase lineup or former phase guys, and they've all had teammates, you know, besides Rubino. Rubino's actually a friend of J. Keem as well, so it's going to be cool to see how these guys click with this new IGL, PETA, and then finally round out the roster, guys, we will have Rubino, who will be our entry fragger for the team. So a very solid lineup here. I know we had Thorn already make a video saying potentially a top 10 team. I like the team chemistry already. Now it's really going to come down to what strats, what maps they pick, and of course how well time is going to treat these guys. But very excited to announce, guys, Dignitas' new male roster. And in a very peculiar story, I touched on this quite a long time ago when KennyS actually passed down his magic stick. Many of you guys do not probably know the backstory about this. CSGORoll released an article just yesterday about this. I'll link that full article down below for all of you about the background story between KennyS's magic stick and why he gave it to Sixer. Now, why this is very important is he always had that Dragon Lore, eventually named it the Magic Stick after Clone 2015, and after Envious actually won Collusion to Poker 2015, obviously the golden era there for Envious, he eventually named his Op Dragon Lore the Magic Stick. Now, when he actually left Envious to go to G2 just recently, he passed down that Magic Stick to Sixer, now the current Envious opera on that roster. Now, it's really curious if people thought, oh, maybe Envious, the organization, bought that Dragon Lore for KennyS, and they said, hey, that's property of Envious organization, you have to keep that inside Envious organization. That was not the case, though. KennyS came out in an interview with CSGORoll and said no, he just liked playing with, he played with Sixer for a short amount of time as Sixer was a trial member for the team and not actually a part of the permanent roster, and he still got to play with him for a short amount of time, enjoyed playing with him so much that he passed down his Dragon Lore to Sixer. Now, although we actually have KennyS, who still has a Magic Stick op in his inventory, but he's downgraded from the Dragon Lore, maybe doesn't want to invest too much money in the Dragon Lore right now, seeing as how expensive the Dragon Lore has become these past few weeks, and he's actually invested in his new Magic Stick, which is an Op Asimov. So that's the background story between KennyS and his Magic Stick and how he passed it down to now current Envious opper Sixer. And a quick note for all of you, Hiko tweeted out this couple days on his Twitter a potential troll of him wearing a CLG hoodie. Now, as of right now, CLG has a pretty solid roster, FNS being their IGL, as well as just adding opper Ricky to the squad. So CLG, even after losing Sabrosa a couple months ago and then Hayes, their IGL and captain, a few weeks after that, they still have a full 5-man roster. And at this point in time, we do believe Hiko is trolling. I don't know why, he's just trying to cause a ruckus. Maybe he's tired of not having a team after IGLing for Optic for some time, being released from that roster. As of right now, Hiko has no current North American team, and he will not be going to CLG. Kind of a funny troll. I do love when pros troll like that. It shows a great personality and great connection, but as of right now, he will not be going to CLG. Actual roster changes did occur, though. Epsilon has lost their coach, Chrille. Now, kind of important factor here is Chrille's been their coach for the past year or so. They lost Drake in a couple weeks ago, apparently on rough terms, and he's still going to be stood in for or replaced by Cali, a really good player over there, not even a Swedish player on that roster, and he'll be their current roster going forward. Again, Chrille, their coach, is now gone off the Epsilon team. If they'll rename a new coach sometime soon, we'll have yet to find out, but at this point in time, they have Cali replacing Drake, who they lost a couple weeks ago, and they still will have a stand-in player or a trial member going on right now, and that is Jzar. Jzar is actually a former Fnatic Academy member, and that's their current 5-man roster for all of you. Going forward, Epsilon, will they still be a build team, or what they're going to do in the coaching future, we don't know as of right now. And as you guys can see in the thumbnail, I know a lot of you guys don't actually appreciate my gambling news for all of you, but yes, ironically enough, we have more gambling sites still scamming other gambling websites out there. CSGORoll has allegedly been scammed again. I'm going to show you guys evidence on screen pretty soon here where allegedly CSGOTurbo actually used the same scam that SkinUp.gg used on CSGORoll a couple weeks ago, this time for a lot smaller amount, but still $13,000 was scammed from CSGORoll. Now how they use this is the same solid. They actually sold a bot to a different website called SkinKings.com. SkinKings.com actually eventually sold that same bot to CSGORoll, and then apparently throughout this whole process, CSGOTurbo still had the login information or somehow had the information on that bot that CSGORoll now owned. They waited for them to load up the actual bot with around $10,000 in skins, and they also paid $3,000 for the bot. So all in all, $13,000 out of CSGORoll's pocket. This is actually confirmed by Joe, the owner of Roll. I'm going to show you guys both the screenshots for CSGOTurbo's bot as well as Genzo, their owner. Apparently this guy's name is Genzo, and he's the guy who scammed CSGORoll out of all of this money. So I'm not really sure how this whole scam works and how CSGORoll falls for this multiple times, but apparently these skin bots, these trading bots are not very safe or very password protected, and apparently these actual gambling websites have to follow very close procedures to actually have those bots still be operating. If they actually actually have the mobile authenticator, maybe it's going to get the bot banned or locked up for some reason. So apparently these bots are very vulnerable to this kind of scam. So yes, once again, this time though, CSGOTurbo has actually been the scamming website here of CSGORoll. Feel bad for Roll, but at the same time, kind of ironic situation to be in. So yeah, $13,000. Wow, 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 wow. And for our last two stories today, we're going to talk about two separate topics. The first one being the China Cup and Tyloo barely hanging on to that #1 spot in the Chinese scene, as well as Starladder Invitational Season 3 qualifiers and why that system is kind of broken. We're actually leaning towards and coming up on our 16 teams for that tournament, which will start April 4th. That's our biggest tournament so far in April, which will be a $300,000 prize pool, and so your favorite teams might be there. That'll be our second story. But first off, I do want to talk about Tyloo barely hanging on to the #1 spot. As of right now, this past weekend, they won the China Cup over Fnatic Academy. I know we also had Boot Gaming. We're also there at the tournament. One of those, just like WESG, a very small Chinese tournament, which had a $100,000 prize pool for 4 teams. So Fnatic Academy came away still winning a good sum of money, but it will be Tyloo who will take your China Cup in 2017. Now, why I want to talk about Tyloo is for our Starladder Season 3 Invitational qualifiers. We now have 15 of our 16 teams. I'll show you guys those teams on screen, which do include our invites, and as well as the breakdown, we're going to have 3 Asian teams, 3 European teams, and only 2 North American teams who came out of qualifiers, or American teams. I do apologize for that. Many people wondering why that's so skewed and why the Asian scene actually had 3 teams here. We actually had Thorn, other people tweet out about this stuff earlier as well, about kind of why America being the bigger scene, the Asian scene coming out of nowhere and trying to grow recently, why do they get 3 spots and America only gets 2? So I will talk about that later on. As of right now though, that 16th spot will come down to Hellraisers and Envious, and that match should be a day or two from now to finalize our 16 teams who will be going to Starladder Invitational Season 3 finals. So kind of a peculiar thing here for our Asian scene though, we will have these 3 teams on screen for all of you. It will be MVP Product, the Korean team who did top off the Chinese or the Asian qualifier. They'll be followed out by 5 Power, Chinese team who actually beat Tyloo earlier on this season, is actually competing with them and beat them in this tournament in the qualifier as well. Tyloo fought their way back. They'll be their 3rd place spot. They get 3rd place in the Asian scene qualifier by beating Vici Gaming 2-0, and they'll be our 3rd Asian qualifier, just barely going to Starladder Invitational Season 3. We'll also have the rest of our European qualifiers, and touching on briefly on our actual American qualifiers, which will surprisingly enough be CLG and Immortals. Now Immortals beat out a lot of good teams here, Winter Fox, Misfits, as well as Liquid, and Immortals one of those well-deserving teams who was not invited, but CLG, a big surprise. They actually beat out teams like Optic Gaming. They not only beat Optic Gaming, but also 2-0'd them in a very important series. They also beat B's Money Crew, and then finally beat Renegades just last night. CLG, this new roster with Ricky as their opper, has actually really earned their way to SLI Season 3 finals. So it's going to be cool to see how they perform here. Again, obviously American teams and the Asian teams will not be favored to win this thing. Immortals does have a good shot, but some very, very good talent here for April 4th coming around the corner. So watch out for that HR and Envious matchup to determine our 16th team here, but very peculiar and kind of a disrupting thing as of right now. Why that Starladder does this, where the Asian scene gets 3 teams and American teams, which do include Brazilian teams, only get 2 teams to go through. Kind of an unfortunate thing. So we'll look to see how those Asian teams do and if they actually really earn their spots. All right. Thanks for watching. Live, love, laugh a lot. Remember, I like you. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. That was such a sad outro. Goodbye.